Son, your tool is quite large. Welcome back to Genuine Infidelity Tales, where we bring you another gripping tale of love and unexpected connections. If you like these juicy stories, then subscribe to our channel. I'm Fiona P., a 42-year-old stepmother who never imagined I'd be in a scenario like this. This is my prosperous husband, William. While I appreciate his dedication, he is constantly glued to his phone or buried in work, which often leaves me feeling neglected and alone. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself longing for companionship and intimacy, craving the affection that had slowly faded from our relationship. I often wondered how I could rekindle the spark in my life, especially at night. When I heard William's footsteps echoing through the house as he went to his study, leaving me in the solitude of our formerly bustling home, I missed the thrill of romance and the warmth of a gentle hug, and the excitement of being desired by thoughts wandered to my stepson Owen, a handsome 24-year-old who had recently moved back home after finishing college. Owen had always been respectful and polite, but there was an undeniable chemistry between us. He had grown into a striking young man, and I found myself stealing glances at him, my heart racing whenever our eyes met. I knew it was wrong, but the more I pushed the feelings away, the stronger they became. After a long day of waiting for William to return home, I decided to change into a silk robe. As I caught my reflection in the mirror, I sighed, wishing for the days when I felt desired and beautiful. I made my way to the bedroom, where I could lose myself in thoughts of what could be, opening my bra hooks and about to put on Rob. Suddenly, I heard the door creak open. Was Owen's coming home unexpected? Rebecca murmured casually, a bright smile on his face as he entered. My pulse raced. I instantly reached for my robe to cover up, but it was too late. Owen's eyes widened slightly as he saw me. "Sorry, I didn't intend to interrupt," he muttered, his stare staying on me for a minute too long. "It's all right," I murmured, trying to remain calm. I was just changing and felt a flush creeping up my cheeks. We stood there in an awkward silence, the air thick with unspoken tension. I could feel a shift between us, an electric current that was difficult to ignore. Owen shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his eyes flickering back to me as if he were debating something in his mind. I should probably go," he finally said. I took a step back toward the door and shouted, barely audible, "You don't have to leave. We can." He stopped, his gaze searching mine. The needs simmering beneath the surface seemed palpable, and I knew I had to take a chance. "Owen, I've been feeling a little lonely lately. It's difficult being here without William around. I know we haven't bonded as much as we might. I understand it," he said, his voice low. "It's been strange." With him always so busy, I took a big breath, feeling confident. What if we spent some time together? Just us two? To my surprise, a smile broke across his face. "I'd like that." As if drawn by an invisible force, I stepped closer to him, the space between us shrinking until we were only inches apart, and my heart could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "The chemistry between us is undeniable, Owen. I've thought about you a lot more than I should have confessed." Looking into his eyes, too, he admitted, stepping closer, a nervous excitement evident in his voice in that moment. All my fears faded away, and I leaned in, capturing his lips with mine. The kiss was tentative at first, but it quickly deepened, igniting a fire within me that I hadn't felt in years and years. His hands found their way to my waist, pulling me closer as we melted into each other. I broke the kiss, breathless and exhilarated. "This is so wrong," I murmured, my heart racing maybe, "but it feels so right," he replied, his voice husky with desire before I could think about the consequences. I pulled him back into another kiss, my fingers tangling in his hair. The kiss quickly turned more passionate, his hands exploring my back as I pressed against him. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, and every touch sent shivers down my spine as we broke apart. I looked into his eyes, seeing the same mix of excitement and fear reflected back at me. "Are we really doing this?" I said something quietly. "Yes," he responded forcefully, holding my chest and squeezing them. "I want this, Rebecca. I've wanted you for a long time." With those words, I felt emboldened. I stepped back slightly and took his hand, leading him toward the bed. The moment felt surreal, and yet I was ready to embrace it. As we sat on the edge of the bed, I leaned in closer, our lips meeting again, more urgently this time. Owen's hands roamed my body, exploring every curve as I melted into his touch. I could feel the heat building between us, igniting a fire I hadn't felt in years. My fingers traced along his, and I exclaimed, feeling elated. With a nod, he leaned in again, kissing me deeply. I could feel him pressing against me, his body hot and eager. My hands explored his chest, feeling the solid muscles beneath his shirt. I knew I wanted more, and the thought thrilled me. Slowly, I pushed him back onto the bed, straddling him as I kissed him with urgency. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with surprise and excitement. I could feel his heart racing beneath me, matching mine. I never expected my voice to be low and sultry, but it felt too pleasing to stop now. As we continued kissing, I could feel him responding to my every touch, our bodies moving in unison. I began to slide my hands under his shirt, exploring his toned abdomen and feeling the warmth of his skin, when he let out a soft groan that sent shivers down my spine. "God, Rebecca, you're inedible," he muttered, his hands going to my back, drawing me closer as I pressed against him. I liked the way he looked at me, the desire in his eyes fueling my confidence. "I want to feel you," I whispered, my voice thick with longing. "Then let us not waste any more time," he said, his hands finding the hem of my robe and pulling it apart as I gasped at the sensation of being exposed to him. "Darius," he took in my body. I felt a thrill of excitement. "You're beautiful," he murmured, leaning in to kiss my collarbone, igniting a fire within me. I could feel the heat rising, and I let myself succumb to the pleasure of the moment. His hands roamed over my body, igniting every nerve ending as he kissed down my neck, sending waves of pleasure coursing through me. As he continued his trail of kisses, I softly moan and arch my back against him. I urged my body, craving his touch with Nufo, to lose ourselves in each other. The world outside fading away as we explored our desires. The room was filled with soft whispers and the sound of our bodies moving together. Every touch and every kiss was more intoxicating than the last, as we tangled together. I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in years, and I wanted to explore every inch of him, to lose myself in the moment. Our bodies moved in perfect harmony, igniting a fire that consumed us both eventually as time passed. Owen said, glancing toward the door. We jumped up frantically, trying to put ourselves back together. Just as we managed to get somewhat presentable, heard William's voice coming from the Rebecca. "Are you home?" he called, out sounding cheerful. Yeah, I'm in the bedroom," I called out, my heart racing as I glanced at Owen, who looked just as flustered as I felt. "I stayed quiet," whispered urgently, and Owen nodded, quickly slipping into the closet just as William walked through the door. William entered, a smile on his face as he caught sight of me. "I didn't think you'd be home." "How was your day?" he asked, stepping closer to just the usual, I said, forcing a smile and trying to act as normal as possible. "How was yours?" "Busy as always," he replied with a sigh, "but I thought I'd take a break and spend some time with you." I nodded, feeling a mix of guilt and excitement. I could still feel Owen's presence lingering in the air. His warmth and the thrill of our shared moments. I had to push those thoughts aside as I tried to engage with William, who seemed oblivious to the tension hanging between us as the evening progressed. William and I settled onto the couch, sharing casual conversation, but my mind kept wandering back to Owen and the electric connection we had just shared. My heart raced every time I thought about it, igniting a fire within me that I couldn't ignore. A few days later, While William was out for another late-night meeting, I found myself alone at home again. My thoughts consumed with the memory of our last encounter. I had missed the thrill of being wanted. Of feeling alive, I decided to take a long, relaxing bath to ease the tension, hoping it would help calm my racing thoughts. I lit a few candles and filled the tub with warm water, letting the steam envelop me as I soaked. I found my mind drifting back to Owen, the way his hands explored my body, the passion in his kisses. It was intoxicating. I felt a rush of heat at the memory and knew I needed to see him again just then. I heard the soft sound of a knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat and I quickly wrapped a towel around myself before opening the door, revealing Owen standing there with a mischievous grin on his. "Hey," he said, his eyes sparkling. "Hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Not at all," I replied, my heart racing at his unexpected arrival as he stepped into the bathroom. I felt a rush of excitement at having him so close again. "I was just taking a bath," I said shyly, trying to hide my nerves. "Looks inviting," he said, his gaze lingering on me as I leaned against the doorframe. "Mind if I join you?" I hesitated for just a moment, my heart racing at the thought of being so close to him again, but the thrill was too strong to resist. "Sure, why not?" In an instant, Owen stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The atmosphere felt charged with anticipation as I watched him slowly undress, my breath hitching as he revealed his toned body. Every part of me ached to touch him, to explore the heat that radiated from him as he slipped into the tub beside me. The warm water surrounded us, creating a bubble of intimacy. We exchanged nervous glances before our lips collided in a heated kiss. The water splashing around us as I melted into him, his hands found my waist, pulling me closer as I tangled my fingers in his hair. The kisses quickly deepened, filled with hunger and desire. As we lost ourselves in the moment, I could feel the warmth of his body against mine, igniting a fire that spread through me. "You're even more beautiful than I remember," Owen whispering against my lips, his breath warm against my skin. That I smiled, feeling flattered. "And you're more irresistible every time I see you," with newfound confidence. I pushed him back against the tub, straddling him as I pressed my body against his. The water soused around us, but I was lost in the sensation of his skin against mine. My fingers traced down his chest, relishing the feel of his muscles under my touch. Rebecca breathed, his voice filled with longing. "You have no idea how much I've wanted this." "Shows me," I replied with my voice sultry, as I leaned in for another kiss, this time more fervent. The world outside faded away as we explored each other, the water mingling with our desires as our kisses became more urgent. I could feel his hands roaming my body, tracing every curve as I lost myself in his touch. The thrill of being so close to him sent shivers down my spine, igniting every nerve ending. I leaned back slightly, allowing him to kiss down my neck, savoring the sensation of his lips against my skin. "Guard Owen," I gasped, my body arching toward him, craving more. With a low growl of desire, he chewed my face, his thumbs brushing over my cheeks as he pulled me in for another searing kiss. I could feel the heat building between us, a powerful force that drew us closer together, urging us to explore more. The water around us became a blur as we tangled together. Lost in the heat of the moment, my hands explored his body, tracing over his shoulders and down his arms as he deepened our kiss, each movement igniting the passion between us. Suddenly I felt a rush of boldness and pulled away slightly, looking into his eyes. "Take this further," I whispered, my heart racing at the thought of you. "Sure?" he asked, his voice thick with desire. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," I replied, my heart racing with anticipation. With that, we moved together, the warm water surrounding us. As we embraced the heat of our desires, we pressed against each other, our bodies entwined in the moment. As the passion escalated, our breaths mingling as we lost ourselves in the pleasure of being together. Ours seemed to melt away as we surrendered to our exploring every inch of each other and feeling the warmth of our connection grow. It was a whirlwind of kisses, soft whispers, and tender caresses, leaving us both breathless eventually. As the water cooled around us, we pulled apart, slightly gazing into each other's eyes, feeling the connection that had blossomed between us. I felt exhilarated, alive in a way I hadn't experienced in years. But just as we began to relax, the sound of the front door echoed through the house, and we exchanged worried glances. "William's home," I exclaimed, panic rising within me quickly. "We have to get out of here," Owen said. Scrambling out of the tub, we both hurriedly dried off and threw on our clothes. The tension was palpable as we tried to make ourselves presentable. Just as I finished adjusting my hair, I heard William's voice call out again. "Rebecca, I'm back," he shouted. "We need to hide," Owen said urgently, glancing toward the door. I nodded, and we both ducked into the closet, our hearts racing as we heard William enter the bathroom. The two of us stood close together in the darkness, our breaths mingling as we waited for the tension to dissipate. William began to wash his hands at the sink, oblivious to the chaos that had just unfolded in his home. "How was your day, Rebecca?" he asked, his tone casual. "Just relaxing," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest as I exchanged a nervous glance with Owen. After a few tense moments, William completed his task and exited the bathroom, allowing us to exhale with relief. "Wow, that was close," Owen whispered, his eyes wide with excitement. He leaned in and kissed me softly before I could finish, which I know I can't believe, reminding me of the thrill we had just shared. "We can't stop now," he said, his voice low with urgency. "This is just the beginning." I felt my heart racing again, caught between the thrill of our secret and the reality of my life with William. But deep down, I knew that whatever was happening between Owen and me was something I couldn't resist. I was ready to embrace this new chapter, wherever it might lead us. As we stepped out of the closet, the tension hung in the air, electric with possibility. We both knew that our lives would never be the same again. The thrill of the forbidden lingered, and I was ready to dive deeper into this unexpected romance, no matter what it took.